Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Friday. Every Friday we do makeup and bad movies, and for the entire month of October, I'm talking about bad horror, thriller, suspense movies, all that jazz. Last week we talked about The Roommate, which was your very general run-of-the-mill single white female movie. This week we're gonna be talking about Jason X, which is the 9th movie in the Jason Voorhees series. It's technically the last technically, because the only Jason movie that came after that was Freddy vs. Jason. But technically, if we're talking about standalone Jason movies, it is the 9th and final film about this man. Nine movies. You can already tell it's gonna be bad. Anyway, this movie is literally just proof of what happens when you don't let a series go, because who the hell thought that this was a good idea? So this movie just feels like exactly like the 9th film in a series, because they clearly ran out of the ideas. They were like, well, we should make another movie, but like, what do we do? Send him to space. Clearly, that's a good idea. So the movie begins with a man, presumably some kind of worker, walking up to Jason. Jason is tied up, chained up, and he throws a blanket over his head and he's like, here, look at this now. So then we move on and we see what I presume to be some kind of government officials of some kind. And they're talking about how they want to preserve Jason, they want to keep him, just plans in general, because the world runs on money. And one of the women, I think she's the only woman in that group actually, a woman, Rowan, speaks up and she talks about how he needs to be put in his cryogenic suspension. Basically, they're gonna freeze him because they've tried multiple times and they can't kill him, so they're just gonna freeze him. They tried hanging him, a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all not worked. The leader of these government officials really doesn't give a damn, and he's like, no, you know, this is good money. So as they're talking, they're walking towards Jason, and when they go to pull the blanket off of Jason's head, they find that it's not Jason, it's the man that we just saw previously, the worker, chained up and dead. Real quick, how did Jason get out of them chains? For real. I understand that the man is undead, whatever, some kind of creature, but he don't have superpowers besides the fact that he can't die. So how did he get out of the chains? Even if he managed to kill dudes somehow, how he got it? It's a horror movie and it's not supposed to make sense. It's just supposed to scare you. So anyway, surprise, surprise, Jason is now standing behind them and he starts going off and he starts taking them out. Rowan was standing away from the group. Oh, this is terrible. What the hell? What is this? Where is the coverage? All right. Rowan was standing away from the group and she manages to run away and trick Jason into running into the cryogenic chamber. She starts it and then, like an idiot, she stands directly in front of it and he stabs her. The glass is open. You could see him through the glass. You didn't have to press your whole body up against it, but you did, because people in horror movies are stupid, just stupid. So anyway, he stabbed her through the door of the chamber, and because of this, the fluid that's in there leaks out, and they both end up frozen. So fast forward 400 years, a group of students are exploring Earth 1, because they now live on Earth 2. Earth 1 was too toxic and everyone left it. But they're exploring Earth 1 and they find Rowan and Jason. So the students are Sonoran, Janessa, and Azriel. And there's also Professor Brandon and an android. Don't ask me who any of the students actually are, because I read about it twice. I mean, I watched the movie twice and I still can't tell you who is who. It's not really important. Most of them are going to die. So those are the people that are there, but there's gonna be more people on the ship. Again, do not know their names. So anyway, they find Rowan on the ground, frozen, and Jason is still in the chamber. And the android tells them that because of her, I don't know, whatever, the way that she was frozen, she's able to be revived. So they're gonna take her and try to revive her. And then they try to take Jason, they take Jason too. I don't know why, because they stated literally as they're bringing him off the ship, he cannot be revived. But maybe it's just like for scientific purposes, because we did see one of the girls like take his eyeball and stuff and like lift his mouth. Like she was gonna study him. So I'm gonna say that it's just for that reason. Otherwise, I'm not really sure why you would just pick a person of another planet. But you know, that actually sounds exactly what humans would do. If we went to another planet, we would just take things. So one of the dudes got his arm cut off by Jason just because Jason fell and he was still holding his knife in the thing. So he got his arm cut off by Jason, and when they get back on the ship, they have these little like ant robot things. I don't know, they call them the ants. They look like ants, they also look like little robots, and they use those ants, and they put his arm back on his body. The outfits on some of these girls are so fire. Oh my God. So they're able to revive Rowan, and when she wakes up, she immediately asks for Jason. And then she explains the whole situation about what happened and who he is and stuff like that. Well, not who he is. She just kind of explains what happened, how she ended up frozen. So then the professor goes off to talk to somebody. It's not really clear who he calls, but when I was doing some research about the movie, apparently he's in a huge amount of debt, and whoever he called, I guess he's paying his debt back to. I don't know, but apparently he's in a huge amount of debt. That was never said in the movie. I don't know how any of the other people who watched this movie got to that conclusion. But he calls somebody, and he's telling them about Rowan and Jason, and basically trying to figure out how to make money off the situation. And the guy was like, well, nobody cares about the girl. People have been getting revived for years now. There's hundreds of thousands of people getting revived. Like, that's not gonna make you any money. But then he sees that the name on the second person is Jason Voorhees, and he tells him like a little bit of his background and tells him that would get you a lot of money. So now the professor got money signs in his eyes every time he look at Jason. I don't know who came up with the idea that horror movies need to have some kind of sexual component to them, but like it is so prevalent and unnecessary. And slasher films, I feel like, are really notorious for this, especially if there's teenagers. If the main characters in the story are teenagers, you gonna see some sex. And it just makes me so uncomfortable. Like the amount of times that I saw titties in this movie, for what reason? It's about a serial killer. I don't, you know, and Jason is not, he's not sexually motivated, you know? It makes no sense for y'all to just be showing titties, because that's not what he cares about, and he's a serial killer. One of the sex scenes in this movie is so one of the girls is analyzing Jason's cells, because like I said, they took him on the ship to study him primarily, and he ends up waking up and he kills her. And then he goes off and he kills a dude after the dude and the girl just finished having sex. And yes, that we got to see that too, because we needed that. We literally met the character that got killed after having sex. We met him like 5 seconds ago. He literally was introduced only to get killed. He was introduced for the purpose of having a sex scene. But the girl, the first girl he killed her in the most gruesome way. He dipped her head in liquid nitrogen and then smashed it on the counter. I gasped. That wasn't even scary. It was just disturbing to see. So then there's a scene where the robot, her name is KM, and she's asking her creator, one of the students, for nipples. I think they just wanted another nudity scene. I don't know. It was kind of funny though, because they fell off. So the movie is pretty redundant from this point on. Because it's a slasher film, like, I don't think you came to this movie expecting substance. He ends up killing 2 guys, one of which is the guy who got his arm sliced off in the beginning. And he kills them while they're playing like a virtual reality game. He kills all the grunts. Grunts are the people who like run the ship, basically. keep it moving smoothly, that kind of thing. He kills all of them except for the sergeant, who's like the boss of them. Don't you hate when the lash just hanging just a little too low? So the professor asks the pilot to land at llers, which is a docking station, but then Jason ends up killing the pilot shortly after, and they end up crashing through llers, destroying it and destroying the whole team of people there who were supposed to help them with this current situation they have on board. Jason makes his way into the lab and kills the professor, who honestly should have been the first person to die, solely off the fact that you have a dangerous serial killer running amok on your ship, and you took 5 minutes to argue with the sergeant about how we need to take him in alive. He's trying to kill people. There's no time to chain this nigga up. So KM manages to kill Jason by blowing his leg off, his left rib cage, and a disgusting chunk of his head. But where she left him to die, he was on a medical table, the same medical table that put that boy's arm together. So if you can see where this is going, because there were still like 30 minutes left in the movie, and of course it couldn't end that easily. The ants came out and put Jason back together, but he had lost so much tissue that they like literally added like metal to him. So now he's a cyborg with like a metal mask and everything. Yeah, Jason, Uber Jason, that's his name. Uber Jason. It was at this point I really regretted my decision to watching this movie, because I can't. This is just stupid. So anyway, the ship is damaged from the crash, and one part, it's like separated in 2 parts with like 4 bridges connecting to it. And they decide to put bombs in the bridges and run over to the main part so that they can blow off the damaged part and they won't like fall out of the sky. What's the terminology to use here? So they won't die, basically, so they can maneuver the ship. Jason, Uber Jason, manages to make his way onto the bridge now that he's repaired. They try shooting at him, but like I said, he's like half cyborg now, so if he was impossible to kill before, he's basically invincible now, I guess. I don't know. So he makes it on to one of the bridges that everyone is on, and all but one of the protagonists is able to make it over to the main side. That protagonist then sacrifices himself and kickstarts all the bombs so that Jason could die. I would think that the movie is over now, but of course, no. Is this how the regular Jason movie goes? Like, you would think that the movie is over now, but of course not. Of course we cannot be released from the pain that is this movie. Anyway, Jason survives and makes it onto this ship. And he punches a hole through one of the walls, I guess. And because of that space air coming through the shuttle, the girl is sucked out and dies. It's kind of gruesome. So the sergeant goes outside to fix something on the ship. Basically, because, I forgot to mention this, but they called for help a while ago, and somebody finally answered them and said that they would be 45 minutes away. So to help them, they're gonna attach something to the side of their ship, like a pod, a rescue pod if you will, attach it to the side of their ship, and they'll go in there and get out. So they set up a simulation of Crystal Lake in order to distract Jason, because Sergeant is working on fixing that thing out there for them for the door. And he figures it out right as the door is fixed. Rowan and the dude who created the android, I think that one is whatever, that dude. And the robot head, because Jason sliced off her head, make it onto the rescue ship, because the sergeant comes and has made it back onto the ship, and he confronts Jason. The ship blows up, and because the movie just cannot possibly end yet without another "he's not really dead" scene, We see Jason barreling through to the ship, or the rescue pod, through space. And then we see the sergeant like knock him out of the way and kind of maneuvers him towards Earth, where he presumably burns up in the atmosphere. And yeah. Oh, then the movie ends with a young couple watching the shooting star and going to investigate where they think the star fell, as we watch Jason's mask sink to the bottom of the lake. And that's the movie. I fail to comprehend who thought that a serial killer in space would be a good idea. I also realize every time I watch these movies that I have no sense of self-preservation, because if I found out Jason Voorhees was on the same ship as me in the middle of space, I would just lay down and die if I didn't already, you know. I'm not. Like, I do not have the strength to keep fighting for this. No. There was probably about like 30 people on that ship all together. 20 to 30. 2 people made it out. 3 if you count the robot. But she didn't even make it out with her body. I cannot. Like, I don't think that slasher films have the ability to be good movies, but a slasher film in space, really? That is all for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any recommendations that I should do for Make 'Em and Bad movies, be sure to leave them down in the comments below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.